Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son Thomas.
Hi, hello.
Were you ready for that?
I should have been. I really should have been.
What have you been up to?
Well, I finished the blog post on the last meeting of the 2018-22 Clarence City Council.
It makes an interesting read.
I
believe. I haven't read it yet.
And then I went to bed earlier than usual, and then got up earlier than I possibly should have, and found that there were no results. There were no results yet for the council elections, and there wouldn't be for another few hours.
Why was that?
The Electoral Commission went and picked up all the ballot boxes from all the councils who'd been diligently filing them away, and found that the contents of those ballot boxes was 35,000 additional ballots.
Right.
And so they didn't start until a little past noon.
Because they needed to remove all of those out of their exterior envelopes or envelopes. Envelopes.
And as of now, I know 2 people who will not be the mayor, and 2 people who might be, and I think I have an inkling that one of them won't be.
And we can only hope. Sorry.
Well, being completely frank, we can only hope.
We can only hope. What I do find amusing is the large swathes of money that appears to have been spent by one of these said candidates and is looking the lesser of the likely to win, which I think is kind of fitting considering this person also made the largest financial claims in the last...
It is kind of fitting, but I don't know that I would call his campaign strategy a failure.
No.
Because at the last election, he was one of the last councillors to get onto council, and at this election, it's looking like he'll have well over a quota.
Yes.
So...
Yep. Yes, it does go to show that having a visual presence in that lead up when suddenly elections are compulsory, yes. Oh, I know that name. I've seen him around a lot.
Got well above a quota, and I think his running mate also done rather well. Whether those 2 will continue to interact well is another thing entirely.
Indeed. Considering political alignments almost opposites, but...
Tickets do not have a stellar history of surviving even to the end of an election.
No.
Let alone past it.
Anyway, so next week we shall definitely know. And,
yes.
Unless they find another stash of ballot papers stuffed behind some couch cushions. Actually, we should check the Deranged Cat studio for any stashed ballot papers.
We've already sent 5. Who knows? There could be more.
There could be, yes. What else have you been up to?
I recently completed my retraining for the video strike team of Desert Bus for Hope, which is a couple of weeks out.
I was going to say, when does that kick off? When does that bus pull out of the station?
I want to say Sunday week.
You want to, but you won't.
Yes, our time, Sunday week.
Right.
Their time, Saturday week.
So that will be exciting, but you're doing all your training to make sure that you can conduct your responsibilities to the best of your ability.
Which is to put events in a spreadsheet.
Yes.
For 6 hours every day, except for Wednesday our time, because I knew that we were still recording a podcast,
Ah,
and so I didn't sign up for that day.
that is very honourable of you. We could have skipped.
Well, and end up finishing in the third week of January.
Oh,
Ugh.
no, we couldn't do that. No. Okay, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
No. My week has been very quiet too. The usual fortnightly bloodletting at the Vampires Visit 101. Actually, I had more visits than that, but donation 101. But we're going to stop counting until I hit another milestone again. All right. Well, we have a film to watch.
We do. We certainly do have a film to watch.
That has come completely from left field as far as I'm concerned, but you have seen it and have put it on your list. Now, you said last week that it is the first slasher film that we've... Would you class Rubber as a slasher film?
Rubber has slasher elements. I don't know that I'd call it a slasher film.
Right.
It's an absurd thing to happen
Yep.
in an absurd film.
Yep. What about Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of the Dead is a zombie film.
Okay. Fair enough. We will keep our genres compartmentalized. We shall not have any overlap. And
There are components of slasher films in zombie films, but...
fair enough. All right, then. Speaking of slasher films, we have one to watch.
We do.
What are we watching?
We are watching the 2017 film Happy Death Day.
Which I believe has a sequel.
It does.
I went to check how long this film was, and it also brought up the fact that there is a second film. Have you seen that?
I have seen the second film
Oh.
when it was on a streaming service.
Yes, it's no longer on a streaming service.
It's not,
which was
no.
what made me curious. But it just goes to show the fickleness of streamings.
And it's a very different feeling film to the one that we're about to watch.
Okay. Well,
Even though it is also a black comedy slasher film.
maybe we can bring that up in our conversations after we have watched it. Would you please tell our dear listener what it's about?
Taking the description from Prime Video.
Which is different from what we used last week.
Blumhouse produces this original and inventive rewinding thriller in which a blissfully self-centered co-ed is doomed to relive the day of her murder unless she can identify her masked assailant and hopefully stop the madness. If she can't, she will be stuck in an insane loop, reliving a ghoulish nightmare that has become her death day.
That was even longer than the Google. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazon will do paragraphs if they feel like it.
That's weird. All right. We're going to wind up the television. We're going to crank up the Fetch set-top box. Going to track down Prime.
We're going to turn the lights down and the volume up.
And we're going to scream for this special pre-Halloween session of Cellulose Free. So, until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye?
Oh, I did it again, didn't I?
You did.
So, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side A, and then to side A again,
And side A.
and side A,
And side A.
and side A.
And presumably, if this holds with tradition, there is possibly finally a side B. But who can say?
I know what happens.
Yes, I can't, because I don't. You mongrel.
But for now,
Yes.
turn to side A.
So, what did you think?
No. So what did you think?
Now I know why you go, at the beginning of every... I found it surprisingly well done and on point, and it was very self-knowing. It introduced right from the start all of the essential elements that a typical loop film does, and then does some even to the point of the Universal introduction was was prepping people to know what they were in for, and then in places turned it on its head. So yes, I confess that I had low expectations, being from a genre that I am not a particular fan of. And also knowing that it was coming from a studio that churns that kind of genre out that I'm not a particular fan of.
Jason Blum has a thing, and that thing is horror.
Yeah, yeah. And in that respect, it was incredibly tame. I certainly didn't have as many jumps as you did. Which I think was only one, really.
Yeah, I think I only truly got once, and that was a moment of quite high tension.
Yeah. Now, I don't know whether that is because, even though I'm not a fan of the genre, I've been exposed to the genre quite a bit, and maybe you haven't? I don't know.
Yeah, not usually my thing either, but...
Yeah. The whole jump scare thing was surprisingly held back as well in this. I was always under the impression that this film was an MA-15+. It's a straight M. And it has all the trappings of an M film and never goes over that.
It has, what, one F-bomb
One F-bomb.
interrupted by an explosion?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think it was... It certainly didn't feel like they tamed it back to get that. It fit within that classification. I said they didn't tame it back, but I think they certainly made it to be within that classification, and that sounds like a contradiction. And maybe I'm trying to say I don't think they were ever aiming for an MA-15+, and then had to cut things out, which occasionally happens. It didn't feel trimmed like that.
I can say, in the US, where it was made, it got a PG-13.
Yeah. And in that respect, I think it was great. Yeah. I do have some problems.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
I should explain myself, I think.
No. No, I
a
expect
bit.
no explanation. Yes, I am curious.
Some time ago, on a whim, I watched the film, and I think I'd been planning to show it to you at some point.
Right.
And then came off streaming services and tucked it away. I was hoping it might have come back to streaming by February last, so I could do it on my birthday episode. But
okay.
it wasn't up yet. And then between then and now, up it
Ta-da.
popped.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, Halloween it is then. And I think it largely held up to what I remembered of it. It is not a perfect film in any way, shape or form.
No.
But I enjoyed it. I seem to have enjoyed it then, and I seem to have enjoyed it this time around. So
It really is weird because, in fact, it's a multi-genre. It's campus hijinks as well.
bit of rom-com in there.
Yeah, all of which can be handled badly. And so to mix all of them up really, really is destined for disaster. And probably 90% of it, it didn't. It managed to achieve some things. But like I say, I've got a couple of quibbles with it. But I've still got a smile on my face about that film, which really confuses me. And I think that has a lot to do with preconceptions of what I was in for that were unfounded. And one of those was the fact that it was going to be by the numbers in so many different ways. And it did very much start off with that. You know, the the setting up of the sequence of events that is going to be repeated everything. I'm thinking, here we go. There's that, there's that, there's that. And they make it so obvious. And I'm thinking, they're either being so obvious or really, really clever. And I think they were being really, really clever. Also, it's got that other genre of the whodunit.
Yep.
And the cliched sequence of setting up suspects.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, again, this is either really bad or really, really clever. And I think it falls into the really, really clever again.
And as it's setting up suspects, it dives right into comedy.
Yeah.
All head first.
Yeah. Yeah. It is never side-splitting laughter.
No.
But it is the giggle and the it's smart. Smart in its comedy, smart in its setup, smart in knowing who the potential audience is going to be and aim it at that level, but also have a nod and a wink to a broader audience who is going to be terribly suspect of this and still satisfy an itch that I certainly didn't know I needed and got. What else do you have to say about it?
I don't really have anything else to say. You
Okay.
You go off.
All right. And this could be a bit spoilery, so I do warn the audience. But one thing that the loop film genre fan of me had a frustration with was the crossing out of suspects on a list. Because that list wouldn't continue over through each repeat. And you wouldn't go rewriting the list and recrossing out names you've already crossed out. And that is what happened with the list. So
what an absolute waste of time you could be spending solving your murder.
Yeah. So that was a glaring thing for me, but I was having enough fun with it to just let that go and say, yeah, that's a rookie mistake and pandering to the core audience, I guess, who maybe hasn't had a loop film before and isn't. Am I being? And
it's in the middle of the comedy murder fest.
It is.
So.
Yes, the comedy murder fest during that montage. They can just about get away with it for people unlike me, who found it really jarring, but I let it go. The other thing, and this is more of a spoiler, is the double twist at the end. I thought that was really clever in that it did clear up some gaps that I had when I initially was convinced into thinking, right, it's over now, but still thinking, yeah, there are gaps, but I can live with it because I lived with the list. But then you have the double twist, which then explains all of that, explains why people knew where people would be and things like that. But it also created quite a messy ending that was too easily brushed off. There is no way that she would be free to go after that ending. It would be hours and hours and hours later, and still the explanations that would have had to have occurred that would have been unbelievable by the law would still have her well and truly in custody as a suspect to a crime.
Just the paperwork.
Yeah, the paperwork alone is just, yeah. So for all that I was dreading of this film, for the list and the rapid cleanup at the end, I think it gets a big pass from me anyway.
Now, in this film, they do not strictly explain the loop.
No, and I like that. That's what I like about Groundhog Day. As soon as you start trying to explain the loop, it just gets messy, I think. And we've discussed this before, and I can't remember which one it was that actually did go about explaining it and actually did a reasonable job of it. I know that Edge of Tomorrow does explain it, and with enough technobabble to get away with it reasonably well. But other ones that I've watched are messy, and I was really satisfied that they did not try to. I did, for a moment, suspect that the multiple murderer was actually in the same loop as her.
Right.
As in, he was learning from the loop for just a brief moment. And thought, that's smart, but no. And it was smart anyway that wasn't the case.
This film has a sequel which throws science fiction in as a genre and explains the loop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And is it satisfactory?
It's largely satisfactory.
Okay. All right.
It's a bit silly, but then so is this film.
Yeah. Does it have the same actors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It begins the day after.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll have to flag it so that when it does suddenly appear again on a streaming service, I'll check it out.
And that, in part, leads to a different feeling film than this.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
As I recall.
Right.
Because it has been a while since it has been on a streaming service for me to check.
Yeah. The other thing that is always a problem in this genre is the one person who's stuck in the loop developing a deep, deep relationship with someone. Sorry, deep feelings, not a relationship, but a deep feelings for, is reset each time.
No one else is allowed to have character development.
No. And I think they handle that reasonably well. But I think that is done because of the shallowness of college relationships. So in that respect, it nails being set in that environment. Being a bit judgy there again, I think. But anyway.
Whatever, it's your podcast.
Yeah. And it helps that he was a nice guy. Yeah. All right. I've gushed.
You have?
Do you have anything else you wish to say about that?
No.
All right.
I'm good with that.
Well,
I have achieved my goal in showing you this film, which is to...
I confess that I was going into this with a sense of dread, but yeah. If you'd said it was Friday the 13th, I would have probably put a white flag up and said,
Well, I wouldn't have suggested that, would I?
No. All right, well, let's move on then.
The following segment is a dog. Do not pet the dog.
We will start on Facebook.
Hi, Helen.
Yes. Hello, Helen.
Yes.
Helen opens her barrage of comments with a guess.
Oh, a guess. All right, yes.
And that guess is BXTRLS.
What else could it be?
Well, was it anything else?
No, it wasn't anything else. It was that.
Great.
BXTRLS.
Good job.
Well done, Helen. If there was a leaderboard, you'd be on it.
Don't necessarily celebrate just yet. She continues, I hadn't realised there was an animated version of Bottlesnakes and Gumballs. I'm not sure I'm game to look, since I have imagined it a certain way based on a rather unique copy of the book.
Yeah.
Which was occasionally used at cub camps with the requisite silly voices.
Yes, it is tricky when you have such a headcanon going on, and then you have to deal with somebody else's interpretation. I haven't watched a lot of it. I did recheck it when I put the link, and it looks good. But I can't remember the stories enough to remember whether it does it chapter by chapter or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure it just does an episodic...
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
In roughly the same location, which isn't like Bottlesnakes and Gumballs at all, which moves about a bunch.
Yeah.
The book, Bottlesnakes and Gumballs.
Yes.
To be clear. The results of Googling troll biology are slightly weird and very rabbit hole-ish. Apparently there is a thing called MS Paint Adventures and Homestuck, which has trolls, with some defined biology. However, I assume these are completely unrelated to box trolls.
Unrelated. Box trolls are a completely different breed altogether.
And the second thing that comes up under box troll biology is your own YouTube page.
Yeah, good.
Yes, Homestuck is quite a rabbit hole. I enjoyed it, but cannot recommend it. And it's very of its time.
Right.
Which is a decade and a half ago.
I don't know.
Which is not long ago, but it's still very, very of its time. Internet culture of its time.
Yep.
And a bit touchy in places. And also the author's a bit mad, but...
Right.
What you gonna do? And
sanity's overrated.
All sorts of other stories surrounding that, but
good.
Not going to go into that. Just be glad that you didn't go down the rabbit hole of leprechaun romance.
Indeed. That's very dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Helen continues.
Thank you, Helen.
I'm not going to try and beat any comment records this week.
That's good.
Comment break. I promise.
Right. Thank you, Helen, for not being competitive, because it's not a competition.
We briefly, for a moment...
Right. Take foray into
Discord.
Oh, you've been here holding out on me yet again.
First of all, in the podcast channel of the Loading Ready Round Discord, Entuosferatu.
Hi, Entuosferatu.
Says, I'm excited to see whether I continue listening or not, and smiles. Instead of a special post-ending episode, you could watch the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Now.
Oh, we could. Couldn't we?
I have no intention of doing that.
My real problem is that I completely missed the Super Mario fanaticism of the era. I was just between generations, and also we were not a particularly well-off family, and a computer in the house was certainly of far, far more importance than a games system. So you could play games on the computer, but the computer could also be used for homework and projects and things like that. And it was never even considered as one or the other. It was, this is what we're having. We're never going to have a games system in the house. So Super Mario I knew of from friends, but the interest certainly wasn't there with movies or anything like that.
Of course, nowadays, as I understand it, if you're talking about the Commodore 64, you're probably talking about video games.
Yeah, but we didn't have a Commodore 64.
Right.
We had an Amstrad.
Yes.
Which was a sensible computer with games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I should say if you talk about any retro computing.
And I should qualify that I said we had an Amstrad. It was actually dear listener Helen that had the Amstrad.
Yeah.
And we took advantage of it and put it to good use.
Much like I take advantage of my brother's Xbox.
That's right.
And is Game Pass subscription.
Yes. Much like that. In a 1980s kind of way.
Yeah. Except that I am taking advantage of something that's exclusively used for games.
Yeah. And then, much later on, an Amiga entered the household, and for much the same reason, but it certainly got quite a bit of gaming done on it as well.
Entuosferatu continues. I think my love of box trolls is also affected by the fact that I saw basically 0 movies in the theatre between 2009, when my second kid was born, and 2015, when he started school.
Ah.
It was a time when Netflix actually had all sorts of movies, including some hidden gems, Rango, and things that were more well-known, but I had missed.
Yep.
Box trolls.
Yep.
Please be assured that I will continue to listen. And in celebration, I will guess that the recording was named...
Yes.
BXTRLS.
Wow. Well done.
But
Yes?
both of you should hold your celebrations. We jump to a different part of Discord,
Oh.
where
this
Dunkel,
Is this the dark Discord?
where Dunkel has sent me a message.
What's Dunkel doing on Discord? I mean, I know Dunkel does Discord, but
Yeah.
but Dunkel, your venue for exposing these things needs to be open to me on YouTube.
And on Discord she has sent me, I have imagined a place and sent unto there an imaginary post. So over on YouTube...
See, I'm thinking, I'm sure Dunkel did.
She did.
And I'm sure it was what I have in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And what has been guessed previously by two other listeners, but has been superseded by the most recent guess.
Okay, now I need to remember which order this is in, and I can solve that by opening the actual video and not YouTube Studio, because I'm pretty sure
That gets confusing.
I can sort by newest, which means that I can flip it in my head, and now it's sorted from oldest to newest. Here we go.
Okay.
I think we...
Oh, hello. Hang on.
Dunkel,
Thank you. Hi, Dunkel.
on YouTube this time. I think we had an opportunity to stop the proliferation of untitled segment write-ins when I said you didn't have to read all my comments on the Battleship episode.
Oh, but we do. In fact, we delved into the dark Discord.
Thank you, Helen, for correcting Colin in regards to jalapeno.
Hit you on the head with a hammer.
Oh, you want more comments again? Is that the case? 203040 is a valid recording name guess, isn't it? BXTRLS. Everybody wins!
Everybody wins a prize.
So nobody wins.
So nobody wins.
No.
No.
I am
Does that make us the bad guys?
I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway.
I am putting my vote in here for the half of cellulose-free regroup. Thomas talks about Chris Pratt and the Super Mario Bros. Movie for 30 minutes special. My mistake, all of cellulose-free, Thomas and Colin.
Oh, great. Great. Okay. Well, you have just heard the reservations and the lack of...
Enthusiasm.
No. Well, yes. But lack of qualification to talk about said Mario due to my only very recent experience with Mario.
I am not hugely qualified to talk about it either.
No. But we'll see. We'll see. Who can say?
That's months away.
It is.
And who's to say we even do it immediately?
No, that's right. We're certainly not going to the cinema to watch it.
No. Yeah.
I cannot see me being enthusiastic to buy a DVD, let alone a Blu-ray. So it'll have to be streaming on something we're already...
Years from now, everyone will have forgotten about this podcast. And an episode will pop up in the feed.
We're back!
And the people who've maintained continuity in their podcast stabs will be like, what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I understand now.
It's time to get the band back together.
Has Thomas's voice gotten deeper? It doesn't match the theme song at all.
It doesn't match the theme song at all. Alright.
That, as far as I am aware, is the end of this untitled segment.
Excellent. Well, we shall move on then.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. It's your turn.
It is. And I have no choice but to randomly randomise the randomising randomometer, give my phone a shake, and get the phone to decide what we are watching. All right. We are continuing to being suspenseful.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In fact, supposedly, according to the blurb, this film set the standard for edge-of-your-seat suspense, quickly becoming a cultural phenomenon and forever changing the movie industry. When the seaside community of Amity finds itself under attack by a dangerous, great, deranged cat, the town's chief of police, Roy Scheider, a young marine biologist, Richard Dreyfuss, and a grizzled deranged cat hunter, Robert Shaw, embark on a desperate quest to destroy the beast before it strikes again. Featuring an unforgettable score that evokes pure terror, Deranged Cat remains one of the most influential and gripping adventures in motion picture history. That's right, folks. We are watching
Teeth.
Deranged Cat. Just when you thought it was safe to return to the Deranged Cat studio.
Lower skull.
Yes, we are watching Jaws next week. You have not seen it?
I have not seen it, no.
I have not seen it in a very, very, very long time. The last time I watched any of it was on a very large screen set up beside a swimming pool. And I was in the swimming pool.
That's a choice.
Yes.
All I know is that by the time we're back here next week, we are going to need a bigger couch.
Well, we are going to need a bigger couch if you decide to join us next week when we watch Jaws. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Oh dear, you dag.
Sometimes I have moments of brilliance.
I thought the Deranged Cat's timing was brilliant. Really.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole closing bit just really came together.
It worked.
And now we're just rambling.
We are. I'm stopping.
So we've ruined it.
I'm stopping. I know that Edge of Forever does.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Forever. Edge of Tomorrow.
I think Edge of Forever is a Star Trek episode?
Yes. 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 So